She can be home alone. She likes that too.
Yeah.
You
She
know
had
that.
never did that before, you know.
I know that.
So now she's got,
Well, when she told me she got to go to the movies. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could.
yeah. She told me that. She said,
Yeah.
oh, well, we'll find a little let her loose.
That's what it's about, you know.
Yep.
Just glad you're there for it.
Yeah. That's stuff. Already mentioned it. So we'll see what happens. Let me know. Keep going, okay?
How are you?
These are the young people from Jenny's school.
I know that.
Oh, he dressed himself. I'm not bad today.
Who?
My husband.
Oh.
Mike, is it okay to come up and say hi? Hey, how you doing? Good. Hey, I want to thank you.
Oh yeah, is this the same deal back at your church?
No, we're gonna come see. You're gonna drive over here.
Oh, yeah, it's a great opportunity.
But now that's a merit badge that you want to have
No, I
done.
just
Oh,
want the boys to, with the election and everything going on now.
okay.
There's so much.
Well, I was going to capsulate that in about 5 to 7 minutes, and it'll be on the agenda. And yeah, you got it.
Everybody's well. Girls are terrific.
Oh, you got that thing.
Isn't there a merit badge you earn
7
from
o'clock. Why
coming
aren't
and
you in
going
bed?
to local government or something? Isn't there anything?
Ira, you want to take that from him?
Yeah,
You want me to call?
I've got the that's on the wrong
really?
agenda.
That was agendized properly.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said that the second resolution that's on the airport authority agenda was supposed to be a city council resolution.
I have fun being here.
What is it? There's a resolution say city council? Just so it is the right resolution in the wrong place.
Right. Hi there. Oh, okay.
And
Oh,
what you know
okay.
is keto, right?
Good. Where's your day? I saw
Good,
you.
you?
I
Oh,
said I
my
You have
Lord.
lunch tomorrow?
That is good.
Home builder.
There's no money in it.
It's on the downside. You'll be in hog heaven before long.
The summit.
Faster in this spot here than any place in the state, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
If I could encourage everybody to please get a seat. 7 o'clock. Time for our meeting to move forward. The custom and habit with this city is that whenever we have a city council meeting, it begins first with an invocation. And tonight the invocation will be led by Pastor Dane Davis from the First Christian Church. That'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led by our Chief of Police, Captain Mark Taylor. Will you stand?
Thank you, Mayor Caldwell. Would you pray with me? Father God, we come to you this evening, Lord, on Super Tuesday, asking for your strong assistance with this deliberation tonight. Lord, as a member of this city, as a resident of this city, I thank you, Lord, for the skills and talents and abilities you've given this council. Lord, they are good at doing what most of us in this room are not good at doing, Lord, and that's leading this city. And so I thank you for equipping them with the ability, the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding to make decisions tonight, and I pray that you would guide them. Father God, I thank you that you are faithful, that you are slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness. And so, Lord, we don't ask you in any way to change tonight, but that you would move and help us change in the direction you would have us go. Lord, as these leaders move our city forward, give them the wisdom to know what forward direction you want this city to move toward. And Lord, I just once again ask for your guidance and wisdom upon them. And we thank you for the privilege we have to live in this great country of the United States of America and the freedoms we enjoy to worship you, to serve you, and to seek your guidance and your will for us. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Wait. We have a slight deviation, Mr. Chief. We are going to have a posting of the colors tonight. And from the Summit Leadership Academy, we have Color Guard members Ashley Evans, Al Haddock, Matt Lerma, Brittany Volbecki, and Lance Shearer. If the Color Guard would post the colors, then we will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Color Guard, forward, march! Forward, face! One step backwards, march! Post colors! Face the flag!
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Color Guard, one step to left, march. Forward, march.
Please be seated. I want to thank the Summit Leadership Academy and the Color Guard members. You know, it's important that young people get involved with the affairs of state and of their city, and to have them take the time out of their evening schedule to come and participate with us tonight is really very special, and I want to thank them for doing that. We have another very special event tonight. Many of you in this room have been here before when we have recognized the sacrifices of the men and women that defend our liberties and our right to do what we're doing here tonight. And we have a banner program that really is the brainchild of Councilman Rudy Cabriales, who cannot be with us tonight because he's a little under the weather. But we do have some military banner replicas to be presented, and I am going to turn that part of the program over to Councilman Rothschild. He used to fly fighters off a jet during Vietnam War, so there's nobody more competent to talk about the sacrifices of military than Councilman Rothschild.
I'll take these one at a time, and we'll go through each presentations individually. I'm Ashley Scott. If this is who will be presenting. This is the plaque that we give in commemorative of this, recognizing the sacrifices. It's an incredible amount of sacrifices that are done. You just can't when they're not here in their home communities, not professional warriors, they're citizen warriors. A lot of other things in family at home here, and they go off and do that, and sometimes they don't come back. So we want to make sure that while they're gone, we have them in our hearts and our mind. So this one here is for Ashley J. Scott, who's United States Air Force stationed in Afghanistan.
Not safe. She'll be home this month.
That's great. Oh, wonderful.
Hopefully.
Next one will be for Robert Blaze. And for Robert Blaze, we have the United States Marines stationed in Iraq, mother, Linda, and anyone else?
Yes, his wife, Anna.
Anna. And her son?
Damien.
Damien. Come on up, Damien. You can stand right here. And, this is, again, one of our... How long has he been gone so far?
October. Back in the first week of
Well, this is a thank you from our community here. Okay. Robert Blaze, we'll have this up. Would you like to say something?
I'd like to share.
I just want to thank everybody in the community. It's really honored my brother. All of us for our safety.
One more. Here, we need to pick. Very much. And the last presentation this evening is Ben Ford, United States Army, stationed in Iraq. Mother, Linda Ford, and father.
It's our baby.
Word that he was going to receive. He sent back an email. He said, "Wow, I don't even know what to say. I really don't think I deserve that kind of thing. I haven't." Bittersweet though. Where is City Drive? I guess that just became my favorite street in the world.
Up as well, so we have 4 this time here. And we'll be up there immediately early on in the tour, so thank you.
Any of you in the audience that would feel so inclined to want to support the Banner program and become a sponsor for one of our military men or women that's serving overseas in Iraq or Afghanistan, you certainly are encouraged to participate, and you could contact anybody at City Hall and get the information. It's a great way to make a contribution to the welfare, the mental welfare, if you will, not just of the troops over there, but their families. They need to know. So don't be bashful if you decide you are so inclined. We would welcome your participation and your contribution, and thank you to the families. It's a huge sacrifice for you as well.
Tell them the Civic Drive is in front of City Hall, right there next to the freeway. And we'll fill up all the posts we can. If we need more, we'll put them up.
We have another very special award tonight for one of our own. And without going into the specific merits, because somebody else will do that, I want to read a little story here so that you'll have some understanding of the significance of this award. The Employer Support for the Guard and Reserve, ESGR, an agency within the Office of the Secretary of Defense for Reserve Affairs, operates programs dedicated towards U.S. employers, employees, and communities to ensure understanding of the role of the reserve component members. ESGR encourages development of employer practices and policies to facilitate employee participation in the reserve components through a network of volunteers and state ESGR committees. Colonel Keith Bushy, United States Marine Corps Reserve, retired as a veteran of 38 years of combined regular and reserve service, having initially entered the Marine Corps as a private and completing 9 years of enlisted service prior to having been commissioned during the Vietnam War. During the first Gulf War in 1992, then Lieutenant Colonel Bushy commanded the 3rd Air Naval Gunfire Company in Long Beach. In his civilian life, he is a career law enforcement officer and in 2006 retired from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department as a deputy chief. Colonel Keith Bushy has a special award to make.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen. Could I be joined here by Christopher Staffus and also...
I'll order him present to the podium.
Sorry?
I'm going to order him to get present at the podium. I just did it.
Good. And while you're at it, sir, would you please order Petty Officer Nick Dopoulos to come up here as well?
Yes, that's another order.
It's a real pleasure to be here tonight representing the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Reserve Affairs. Simply stated, and you summed it up, we serve to become involved in situations involving men and women in the military reserve and the Guard under extraordinary circumstances, when something very extraordinarily good occurs or when something extraordinarily bad occurs. I'm here tonight to acknowledge and give our appreciation to this city, to you, Mr. Mayor, to the council folks, to you, Mr. Stathis? That's what I said. You heard me wrong. For all of the tremendous support that you've given to Petty Officer Dean Nicolopoulos. He nominated this city. He nominated you for the award. And after listening to what he had to say, we realized it was very much merited. He gets the 30 days military leave. He's supported in the reserve drills that he attends. When he's gone, his medical benefits accrue. While he was on military leave, a position came up, but he wasn't able to file for it before the deadline, but the Director of Human Resources enabled that to occur. But I guess the biggest thing is this city has a long and very favorable history of creating and maintaining an environment where young men and women in the reserves and the National Guard can serve their country knowing that their employer is behind them. I thank you so very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and the Victorville City family for all that you've done. I have a certificate here for Mr. Stathis. That's your name now, if it wasn't before. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Petty Officer Nicolopoulos. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'm quite sure that Chris Stathis would have had the wisdom to have done it on his own, but I'm sure the fact that his direct supervisor, the city manager, was in the Marine Corps. Rudy Cabrialis was in the Marine Corps and the Army. He was in the Navy and I was in the Army. Probably had some persuasive effect on his... there you go. But I'm going to deviate for just 1 second. I think it's important. I'm going to ask John Roberts just to mention what the city's policy is for men and women that are called up. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's an incredible policy, and I'm not sure. I've been told that the City of Victorville may be one of the only agencies that has this policy, but when one of our employees who has faithfully served in the reserves is called into duty, not only do we maintain a position in the city when they return to come back to employment, we maintain also the benefits and the medical coverage for that employee. But this city has gone one step further, which is to actually continue with salary to that employee so that their family and spouse and children continue to receive compensation and are not financially impacted by the service of their loved one. It's a remarkable action by the city, and the council is to be greatly commended.
Thank you, John. And one more special presentation from the Victorville Police Department. Karen Hunt, the Safe City Program. Oh,
Well, you've
this
changed,
says
Karen.
Karen Hunt. How you have changed.
Karen Hunt's the one that does all the work. I'm the one that gets to talk about it.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. About April of 2007, we were approached by the Target Corporation regarding a program that they have in place nationwide called Safe City. Safe City is a partnership between the business community and law enforcement to enhance safety in the community. From their initial meetings with us, we started looking at it, created a kind of a steering committee to kind of look into the program, got the go-ahead from the Office of the City Manager, and started developing these Safe City concepts. In our city, we decided to go Safe City having four separate facets to it. The first is COIN, which is our community-oriented information network, which allows the businesses to have an interactive relationship with the department to share information regarding retail theft. So if Kohl's is having a problem with a certain bunch of folks, they can share that information through a website that we maintain with the other merchants in the area. And to be a member of COIN, you just have to contact Karen Hunt, our PIO, and it's password protected, so only the merchants can get into that and they can share that information. And it is currently accessible and up and running through the Victorville PD website. The second facet of Safe City was going to be crime-free in all of its iterations. We have crime-free multi-housing, have had crime-free multi-housing for the past 5 or 6 years. As the council went forward with crime-free rental housing last year, this year we want to introduce crime-free business as well as crime-free hotel and motel. The third facet of the Safe City program for us is Neighborhood Watch. And we currently have about 30 Neighborhood Watch programs active in place in the city of Victorville that are coordinated by Karen. And then the last item that is kind of the new facet to Safe City is a closed-circuit TV monitoring of our high crime areas that we've identified through analysis of crime stats as well as information from field officers. And initially, we were looking at the placement of about 25 cameras in the areas of the city, including Brentwood, Liberty, Mesa Linda, Hook Parks, 7th and D Street area, the Old Town area. And the initial estimate for those cameras came in at about $450,000. So we decided that we probably need to do this in a couple of phases. The first phase will cost about $250,000, and it will have 13 cameras and the related wireless infrastructure. And the second phase will encompass the remaining 12 cameras and the continued maintenance of the system. Sergeant Chris Elvert from the Victorville Police Department has put together a PowerPoint presentation for you folks along with Karen, and we'd like to let Chris talk about that now.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sergeant Chris Elvert. I'm with the Victorville Police Department. I'm their administrative sergeant and have been working with the Target Corporation over the last 7 months putting this program together. Tonight, when I'm sure this is going to work, we're going to be talking about those things, Safe City, the design, what was Target's involvement, how they came to us, what we've done in the law enforcement community, and our final step coming before you folks, and seeing if you can join us in this endeavor. What is Safe City? Most important thing, it's not a Target program. It's just Target was a vessel. They put this together in 28 other police departments throughout the nation, so we're on the ground floor of this as they came to us. It's a community-based organization. It's to get all the businesses within the city to join in and get behind us, to get everybody working together to solve crime and make Victorville a safer place to live and shop. What does this mean to Victorville? Once you'll see on the map, once we join, we're one of 28 police departments throughout the nation. That gives us instant recognition. But most importantly, it's us coming to the business community and coming together to solve crime. Target is just a founding father of the organization and as supporting us through other concepts, as you'll see throughout the slide presentation. Next slide will come up. It was founded in 2004 with 2 cities. Cities pop up. That's 2004. 2005 is expanding. 2006 it's growing. 2007 they came to this fine city. And 2008 they only have a few more programs, mostly on the East Coast. Once again, it's law enforcement coming together with the private community, tapping into their resources, how to better equip the police department, the local agencies, give the businesses and the city a partnership against crime. What took it? It took a strong commitment for your chief of police to believe in the project, to assign resources, make the contacts, and start this program. The biggest part is the second phase of this is getting the local businesses and corporate partnerships to join us. We need you folks on board to help us. As you know, we've met with several of the other chambers of commerce, Rotary, Lions Club, Old Town, and I believe it's an exciting adventure that everybody's ready to jump aboard on. What are they going to bring us? This is the last phase, obviously the most expensive phase, CCTV to the city of Victorville. Give us a solution, give us a contact. Under the corporation of Target, they deal with one company, one cost, which reduces our cost. The captain said the figure of about $450,000 to a local business. I was told today by the company that'd be $1 million without this in place. What will CCTV bring? I saw in the paper the other day about Big Brother looking at it. That's not the way we're looking at it. We're looking at it I'll show you in this 6-minute video. It's just a tool, and this is the tool we want to bring to this city, innovative and creative, to help law enforcement catch criminals.
Baltimore, Maryland, a scenic waterfront city filled with history, but also its share of hardcore crime. But now the cops are fighting back with revolutionary new video technology. It's a program called City Watch, round-the-clock surveillance with 250 high-resolution video cameras.
There are some areas that are known as open-air drug markets, and these cameras have enabled us to really focus in and target those areas.
For law enforcement, that's 250 extra eyes, trained on the city's meanest streets. They can pan, zoom in, and make 180-degree turns, zeroing in on faces and crime as it happens.
Our results in Baltimore are amazing. In the 3 neighborhoods that we have our cameras placed, they've all seen double digits reductions in violent crime.
Specially trained officers control and monitor these cameras at headquarters and local precincts.
We have 2 suspects, both #1 males.
Suddenly on this monitor, suspicious activity. Within seconds, a radio call sends patrol officers racing to the scene. Officer John Gorman works the dangerous downtown beat, where drug activity is heavy.
Here we have 2 females sitting in the downtown area of Baltimore City where a camera is watching them.
Many of these high-tech cameras are in plain view, yet brazen drug dealers go about their business anyway.
He's going to give her unknown white pills, at which time she drops a few on the ground. He again speaks to the lady in purple, which is a great tool because when we bring this to court, they cannot say that they weren't engaged in a conversation with him.
As this drug deal goes down, the cops are already on the move.
398 to 11. Yes, sir. We have CDS activity outside the corner of Lafayette and Guildford.
But so are the suspects. Now it's a race against time. And thanks to City Watch, the cops win. Suddenly, violence on another city street. An angry altercation between a man and a woman. The camera not only tips police to trouble, but records video evidence that can later be used in court.
so he throws another punch at her, and they continue arguing out in the street.
But will the cops get to the scene before this thug inflicts serious injury? Thanks to City Watch, the officers stopped the violence within minutes and placed the assailant under arrest. But even with their high-tech cameras, the cops don't always get there in time.
This is our victim right here, who was engaged in a conversation. At first it appeared friendly.
Suddenly she's fighting for her life, while police dispatchers alert patrol units to the struggle. Now a body lies in the street, while the suspect gets away. But even here, the cameras can make a difference.
You can automatically call an ambulance for this victim. We don't even have to wait for police to arrive on the scene.
The victim survives, and the suspect, unaware that she's been identified on camera, will be taken into custody minutes later.
We're able to monitor with these cameras where these people go and what location they're at, and we're able to place them under arrest.
Some Baltimore neighborhoods are so plagued with violence that the only reliable eyewitness is a City Watch camera.
A lot of witnesses and community members are afraid to come forward, fear of retribution.
When homicide detective Mark Vini investigates a murder, he learns that several witnesses saw the victim gunned down on the street. But no one will talk to him, so he turns to City Watch for help.
What you're seeing is witnesses just hearing gunshots, and now they're scattering, taking cover.
The camera has missed the murder itself, but Vini discovers what could be a valuable clue.
And shortly you'll see the suspect running across the street here.
A key suspect, whom the video places near the crime.
This is a very important moment in this investigation. The video camera capturing the suspect running away from the scene.
Using the video, Vini tracks down the 15-year-old suspect, who later pleads guilty to murder.
This is a case that could still be open today, but as a result of the video cameras, we were able to get a murderer off the street within 9 hours.
Whether they target drug deals, assaults, or murder, the City Watch cameras are the ultimate eyewitnesses, making Baltimore streets safer.
It's something that we proactively use to find those individuals, that very small number of people in Baltimore that continue to victimize our city.
Next, on Video Justice, industrial spying caught on tape. But can cameras save a family business?
They gave us that presentation. The videos you see are actual viewing. The Zoom capability is tremendous. The technology that comes out through Lensec is very real time. We sat and looked at a real camera. I think it was back east during the daylight, about a tenth of a mile away on a light, and during the daylight, and you could read a license plate on a vehicle. That's the type of technology that we want to bring to the city through this program. With that, we started doing crime analysis. Up here is the map of our city. The shaded areas are the areas where the most Part 1 crimes are. This is the mall area, which we do have a lot of crime down there. And through the analysis, we tried to pick the locations of where the best would be suited to suit the citizens and the police department needs. This is 25 cameras. Of course, you hear Baltimore, they had 250 with that as the price tag. This is the first step for us to try to get in as many as we can as we go through this program. What did they bring us? They brought us the locations of camera poles. This would be a typical viewing station inside the police department. If needed, we can even give access, limited access to the public. I'm sure the public wants to make sure we're not looking in their backyards, those type of things. That's what that's set up for, to let people know that we're out there trying to solve crime. Already started through this has been one of the innovative ideas is the Victorville Police Department's own website. It's been online for about a month. We've had over 1,000 hits on it, and now you have all your neighboring cities calling up Karen saying, hey, what are you guys doing with your website? This is going to be a program that's going to be running, going out to our neighboring cities. Targets through our contact through our city wants to make it a Victor Valley program eventually. Roadmap, the planning, we've talked about that. Determine if the project is viable. We believe it is. Identify the Safe City partners, which we have done. Secure commitments to the Safe City project. That's why we're here tonight. Develop the structure. Victorville City's already got most of this in place. Develop partnership plans. That's the next phase out tomorrow, going out to the business community, see if we can get more people involved. Again, get commitments from other partners, make the media aware of what we're doing. Form a board. We've already formed the board. As you know, our captain, your chief, is chairman of that board. Timeline, it's been 6-7 months to this point now. We're getting ready to do the implement it, and ready to put it on board. Some of the common questions that come up, who's going to lead Safe City? The board of directors is, with partnership with the police department and the businesses. The biggest word here is businesses. We do need their help, and that's what we're going to be targeting, so to speak. What is required? How much does Safe City cost? It can be from anywhere from our initial startup budget of $250,000 to Gardena, that's coming online in 2008, of $2 million. It's sky's the reach, and we're here to try to do the best we can. I think it's most important. Oh, let me go back a slide here. Excuse me. Go back. Uh-oh. Now we're technically challenged here. Try one more. Well, the most on that common question that was on the slide before is, who could be a partner in this? I think it's very important to think that the Target Corporation came to us, City of Victorville, with working with us. They liked what they saw. They saw the goals of this community to be a safer city, so they approached us. I guess what we're here to do tonight is to see if we can get our you folks behind us today. Obviously, we're requesting some funds to help the initial startup cost of the project, and I'm here to answer any questions you have if I hadn't covered in the presentation.
Questions or comments from members of the council?
Mark, what kind of cost are we looking at from us, you need from us? What kind of cost do you need from us?
We're going to have an item on the next meeting. This was just to kind of inform you, get the commitment of the council so you guys can talk about it. And Mr. Cabrales had talked about the dollar figures, and I'm sure he'll talk to you folks.
Well, Doug Robertson's going to speak for Rudy. He's
okay.
Everybody knows Rudy's very, very involved in this program, and he couldn't be here tonight, but he specifically asked that Doug share his thoughts with the council. So let me turn it over to Doug for just a second.
Just to answer your question, Councilman, obviously we've given up $250,000 starting up budget. Target is getting us off the ground with $100,000. So obviously we'd like to make up that quick $150,000 to put this project in line so that we can get them started, and as we go out to the business and go from there. So that's our request. Thank you.
And tomorrow we'll be doing this presentation at VMI to garner the support of the business community also, so that part of the
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As you know, Councilman Cabrales couldn't be here tonight, and he is very passionate about this program. He just wanted me to say a couple of words for him. One, that they've been working on this program for several months now. He says that it's been proven to reduce crime in other cities, and it's his belief that the city can't afford to not do this. The purpose for the presentation tonight was because he wanted you to see it first. before it's presented at VMI tomorrow. Didn't want you reading about it in the newspaper or finding out about it some other time, but decided to shift the discussion about how we go about funding this, preferably to the mid-year budget workshop that's going to be coming up, I believe, in 2 weeks, and he'd just like to have some consideration at that time.
Thank you, Doug.
Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments?
Well, the only comment I'd make, it's a phenomenal program. I think it's something this city would really benefit from, and that we need to look at it very closely at the budget meeting and see what we can do.
Well, at the risk of overstepping my bounds with my fellow council members, I feel pretty confident in saying that you'll have from this city council whatever you need to implement the program. I want you to know that even though there have been a few letters to the editor taking issue with this decision, we're not affected by that. This is a great program, and we're grateful to Target. We're grateful to you folks for getting it off the ground and getting it started, and you'll have the full support of the City of Victorville.
Thank you.
Thank you. We don't get to hear from Karen? Thank you for coming. Okay, we are beyond the special presentations, and we are ready to go into the regular agendas. I am going to simultaneously open all of the agendas that are before us tonight. That will include the library, the water, the air, the airport, the rail, the redevelopment agency, and the city council. All of those agency meetings are opened simultaneously. The first item of business on every agenda is public comment. Public comment is that opportunity that is afforded by state statute for anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council or the council in its representative capacity for the other agencies I just mentioned. You can address us on any matter that is within our jurisdiction and purview. Because we have no idea what you might say, and because we have no opportunity to be prepared, the general rule is that we will not respond to public comment. You will be held to 3 minutes. We ask you to fill out one of these cards that's available in the foyer so that we'll have the information necessary to communicate with you should whatever you share with us require us to get information or schedule an agenda item for a future meeting or in any other way communicate with you. So if you're going to address us under public comment or later in the public hearing sections, I please ask you to fill out these cards, and I again ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. I have received only 3 cards indicating a desire to speak under public comment, and in the order presented, I have one from Norm Miller who wishes to address us on water, a second from Norm Miller who wishes to address us on City Council, and then the third would be Dorothy Miller, just saying number 1. She doesn't list the subject. So Norm Miller, you're up, number 1 and number 2.
I'm going to do this in number 1 because I can spend more time on number 2. Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Norman Miller, and I just have a question on the water issue. I was under the impression when we combined the water districts that we were going to have like an ad hoc committee or a water committee similar to the traffic advisory committee and the Parks and Rec committee. So I'm just curious if that's being looked into or not. That's all on that. The second item is on the well, this is a little prior to the letter I received today, but I received a letter from the city, I guess the engineering department, addressing the problem we had with the flooding that occurred on Topaz, which is not a street for the city yet. It's a street that's being built waiting on the signals, traffic signals. And they kind of indicated my complaints were not really all that I thought they were in that well, my biggest problem is the flooding that's occurring down Topaz, and as you can see on these pictures, some of them I made, and the others were made by our neighbor to the north. But on the first ones, I don't know which your first page is, but on the first page I have, it shows a typing in there of Topaz in white. And on that particular picture, it shows a stream on the east side of Topaz that's 3 feet wide, which isn't too bad. But if you look on my side of the street, right next to that, where it says further north looking south, it shows the edge of the asphalt, and there's an 8-foot wide stream coming down that part of the street. Now, I think that's a little overkill. They said there's no flooding on my side. Well, to me, that's flooding. If you look underneath that picture, it shows a stand of trees. I'm not getting flooded on my property, but it looks to me like those trees are underwater. So that would indicate to me my trees are being flooded. And you can see a stream, like about an 8 or 10 inch wide stream right next to my fence, and that's the tire mark that the motor grader put in there when they were doing our embankment. So I'm not going to go into this for very much long because I really don't have the time to discuss everything here, but I just want to say basically I think most of what's in this letter that I received today is not correct. I think I do have a flooding problem. I think Topaz has a flooding problem, and I think my neighbors to the south, or I'm sorry, to the north, they're getting a stream through their yard that's 56 feet wide. Now, that's not a problem. I think it is. And I can tell you one thing that I told one of the engineers that came out there. If you look at Eucalyptus and Topaz, the water from Mesa Linda that flows to the east to the Oro Grande Wash, all that water stays on Eucalyptus. None of it comes downstream on either, I think it'd be Hollyvale or Topaz or Cobalt or any of those streets. It all goes into the wash. We could have done the same thing on Topaz when it was built if they had put what I call a hump, so that the water that's on the south side of Sycamore will keep flowing as it has over the last 20 years on down toward actually Cobalt, because it doesn't make it to the wash thanks to that problem. But right now you're getting about as much sand on Topaz and Bear Valley Road that you're getting on Cobalt, and Topaz isn't even completed yet. So that needs to be looked at. If you leave it like it is, it's going to be one heck of a mess that you guys are going to spend a heck of a lot of money repairing, changing, fixing. Every time it rains, they have to clean up Cobalt, and they have to clean up Mesa Linda, and they have to clean up now Topaz. So I think something should be looked into, and maybe something could be done to improve this. And like I say, it's a simple fix. It's just that you have to do it. Curb and gutter isn't going to do it, because now we're getting the water off from the homes that were built south of Eucalyptus. And that's why you see all this water on these pictures, not the first two pictures, well, not the first picture, but the second sheet. That's all water that's behind our property, on the north side of our property. That used to be a stream about 3 feet wide when it rained. At this last rain, it was over 15 feet wide. And instead of going down the channel it formed, it went across all of it. And as you see in that one picture, it shows a line, a red line. It says the water was never past that line. That water never went north of that line. It stayed in its channel. It's not doing that anymore. I had about 15 railroad ties that I put in that stream bed to keep the water from taking the dirt away from my fence, which is on the north side of my property. About half of those railroad ties are down the stream. It picked them up and took them away from there. I got to go pick them up.
Well, we have the directors of Public Works and Engineering in the audience. They've heard that, the old adage that a picture's worth 1,000 words. I'll make sure that those departments have copies of these pictures. And to the extent that the city can deal with this issue as quickly as we can, obviously.
Well, I'd just like to see it get cured before it becomes a big problem. Then it's more expensive to fix.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And the third card is Dorothy Miller.
Mayor and council members, I got a couple things to bring to your attention. What happened to the report and consultant that was hired to improve the engineering department? I've been calling for months to fix something and no results. No callbacks or anything. I have not seen a change. I feel it was a waste of money to spend that kind of money for a consultant. Why did we hire a new director for Public Works when the intern manager was doing a good job? At least you would get a call back and things would be done. And why fill out a white card? Most of the time, I don't even get my answer. I would like a response to these questions in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. That's all the cards I have under the public comment section for the city and the other agencies. Is there anyone else in the audience who had intended to speak under public comment? If not, then we'll go to the regular agenda. Number one is the library, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Hunter, who is our liaison with the library.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've already done public comment. The only other items we have is item number 3, which is a consent calendar for the meetings on the dates indicated here. And I guess we take a motion.
For approval?
Second.
Moved and seconded. May we vote?
I need a second.
I gave it to you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
That concludes the library agenda. We will now go to the Rail Authority agenda. Item 3 is a consent calendar. There's 3 items. They've been predetermined to be routine, non-controversial. They'll be acted upon with one motion unless there's a request for removal.
Approval?
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. May we vote? I'm unaware of any add-on items or urgency items for the Rail Authority.
Excuse me, Chairman Caldwell, I need a vote from you.
Well, I pushed it. We're going back to the same problem before.
Can you do it again? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Unless there are urgency or add-on items, that would conclude the Rail Authority agenda.
I have nothing to add.
Airport Authority, again, item 3 is the consent calendar, and those items have been predetermined to be routine, non-controversial. They'll be adopted with one motion unless there is a request for removal.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. May we vote? Item 4 is also item 4 on the redevelopment agency, item 4 on the water district, and item 12 on the city agenda. So we're going to handle item 4 on the current agenda concurrently with the RDA, water, and city items, which are all the same. It has to deal with the official authorization to invest city monies in what is referred to as LAIF, which is a local agency investment opportunity where we commingle our funds with the state of California for investment purposes. It's deemed to be the most safe investment that is available. We have proposed resolution SCLAA 08001, as well as the companion resolutions for item 4, the RDA, the water, and item 12 at the city. Questions or comments from members of the council?
Move the item.
Second.
Moved and seconded for all 4 of those agencies. May we vote? Item 5 is a request to adopt proposed resolution SCLAA 0803, which, if adopted, would authorize the submittal of an application to the U.S. Department of Commerce, Foreign Trade Zones Board, for a major boundary expansion of Foreign Trade Zone 243, and to expand the existing general purpose zone. Questions or comments from members of the council? Not a motion on the proposed resolution would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. May we vote?
Councilmember Rothschild, can you select the second?
I don't, I'm on the,
You're on voting? Okay.
frozen into a
He
different.
doesn't have it. I'll take it.
Okay. Okay. You can vote.
Item 6, proposed resolution SCLAA 0804 and 08005 deals with the tax allocation revenue notes, the subordinate tax allocation revenue bonds, a private placement memorandum, and a forward bond purchase agreement in the aggregate amount of $40 million. And if the resolutions are adopted, then we would go forward based on the the authority giving the responsibility to Mr. Roberts and to Mr. Bortnowski and the appropriate city staff to implement these if and when it's appropriate to do so. Questions or comments from members of the council?
Excuse me, Chairman Caldwell. It was brought to my attention this evening that item 6B, the second resolution, is actually a city council resolution, not an airport authority resolution. It's correctly listed, but it's on the wrong agenda.
Well, let's have a city council agenda, resolution number for that. We'll adopt it concurrently. Have a number?
I'll have to assign a new number for it.
Okay, well, we're going to vote on 6A and B, but 6B will be reflected in the minutes to be a city council action taken concurrently with the airport authority on the $40 million bond issue. Questions or comments from members of the council?
I'd move the item with your comments.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. May we vote? Unless there's an add-on item or an urgency item that would conclude the authority agenda.
I have nothing to add.
Then we will go to the redevelopment agency agenda. Item 3 is the consent calendar. Again, these items have been predetermined to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be adopted with one motion unless there's a request for removal. Thank you, Mr. Kensel, for joining us. Thank you, Janice.
Approval?
Is there a second?
Second.
May we vote? Item 4 we've dealt with. That's the LAIF issue. Item 5 is a request to authorize the execution of an agreement to acquire a property at 15490 8th Street and 15519 8th Street, generally referred to as Old Town. The monies would be $245,000 and $90,000 respectively. If this is approved, then there would be the authorization to staff to acquire these properties. Questions or comments on items 5 or 6? Hearing none, a joint motion. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. May we vote? And unless there is an add-on or urgency item, the only thing left would be the closed session items which have been enumerated on the agenda. Anything to add?
I have nothing to add.
Then we will defer action on items 7 and 8, which are closed session items. There will be other closed session items with the City Council. They will all be dealt with at the conclusion of the agenda, and you're welcome to stay. It's not anticipated that there will be any action taken at the results of the closed sessions, but one can never be sure. But in any event, that would conclude the redevelopment agency agenda, except for the closed session items, which will come at the end of the agenda. The Water District, item 3 is the consent calendar. Again, all of these listed items have been predetermined to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be adopted with one motion, unless there's a request for removal.
Move for approval.
Second.
May we vote?
Chairman Caldwell, I need a vote. Thank you.
Item 4, which is the LAIF issue, has already been dealt with. Item 5 is a request to award a contract for engineering services to Krieger and Stewart to design and equip well number 144 in the amount of $140,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. May we vote? Item 6 is a request to approve a change order for the recoding of reservoirs number 111 and 113, $476,500. Questions or comments? If not, a motion would be in order. Been moved and seconded. May we vote? That concludes the Water District meeting, unless there's an urgency or an add-on item for water.
I have nothing to add.
Nothing to add. Then we will go to the Victorville City Council agenda. There are revisions to the published agenda. Item number 4 is an assessment district election, so I'll, at the conclusion of the public hearing, vote tabulation, which will be announced by the city clerk. Agenda item 21 is when Rothschild requests the courtesy of making a special presentation on that. That deals with the funding for the Nisqually-La Mesa interchange. Councilman Cabriales has requested that closed session items number 26 and 29 be continued to the February 19th City Council meeting when he intends to be present, and that will occur. And then SCLAA agenda item 6B we already dealt with. It was supposed to be a City Council item, and we've already dealt with that. Are there any other revisions or changes to the published City Council agenda?
The only other item of note is there are 2 addendum items. One is dealing with a closed session pursuant to 54956.8, dealing with real property at the northeast corner of Seneca Road and Mesa Linda. The parties of the City of Victorville and Pinehurst of Newport Beach. And the other is an addendum pertaining to consideration of a request for a bond reduction from Mojave Desert Land Corporation. Those were properly agendized, but after the posting of the agenda as addenda items.
All right. Then we will go to agenda item 3, which is a public hearing to consider proposed ordinance 2219, which, if adopted, would adopt placards for the Post-Disaster Safety Assessment Program. Council's already received materials in the agenda packet which explain that. Are there further questions or comments from members of the council? Not a motion would be in order. Oh, it is public. Open the public hearing and invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed ordinance, which, if adopted, would result in placards for post-disaster safety assessment. Anyone who wishes to oppose that item? Anyone who wishes to speak in support or in favor of the item? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Mayor Caldwell, I need to read the title of the ordinance.
Second.
An ordinance of the City of Victorville adopting placards for post-disaster safety assessment program.
Waive further reading and introduction of ordinance number 2219.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. May we vote? Agenda item 4, A through R. Want to know why the forests are thinning? It's because of these items on the agenda. They deal with street lighting assessment districts for a whole bunch of tracks. All of these items, A through R, have the 2 components. One is to consider accepting the engineer's report, and the other one has to do with authorizing the formation of these street lighting assessment districts. So I'm going to open the public hearing on all of these resolutions, A through R. I will read the tracks that are involved, but they will be dealt with in one motion unless there's a request for removal. And the tracks are 13908, 16939, 16940, 16941, 16942, 16943, 16944, 14521, 16171, 16174, 16507, 16652, 16682, 16717, 17083, 16792, 16856, 17047, 16807, 16853, 16982, 17130, 17132, 16955, 17131, 17133, 17135, 14647, 16861, 15395, 16489, 16994, 15399, 15501, 15503, 16496, 17134. A part would accept the engineer's determination. The B part would be the formation. Are there questions or comments from members of the council on items A through R? Wait, got to go to public hearing. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing on items 4A through R, dealing with the street lighting assessment district for the tracks that I just listed. Anyone who wishes to speak for or against, pro or con, with regard to accepting Sean McGlade's engineering determination and/or ordering the formation of those various street lighting assessment districts. Anyone who wants to be heard? Hearing no public testimony, I'll close the public hearings on items 4A through R and invite a motion.
Mayor Caldwell, prior to the city council acting on those resolutions, the city clerk staff needs just a little bit of time to tabulate the votes on this item. And
So
then
you want to set it aside until they come back?
Please.
Okay, then we'll announce the results when the ladies come back in. We'll move on to item 5, which is dealing with proposed resolutions 0819 and 0820. Again, street lighting assessment districts, and they deal with the tract 17512. I'll open the public hearing. Invite anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard for or against, pro or con, on the formation of the street lighting assessment district, the acceptance of the engineer's report, the ordering of the formation for tract 17512. Anyone wish to be heard for or against, pro or con? Hearing no public testimony, I'll close the public hearing. Council, a motion?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. May we vote? Agenda item 6, proposed resolutions 08021 through 0824. Again, dealing with the formation of street lighting assessment districts. The tracks involved are 16772, 17430, 16772. Those agenda items deal with, again, approving the engineer report and the ordering the formation of the street lighting assessment district for those tracks. If there's no questions or comments, I'll open the public hearing. Invite anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard for or against, pro or con. Hearing no public testimony, I'll close the public hearings. Invite a motion.
Second.
The only thing different on agenda items 7 and 8, it's the same nonsense, but now we're going to do it for landscape maintenance districts. Again, the action is to approve Mr. McGlade's report, the engineering assessment, order the formation for tracks 16772, 17430. So we have the proposed resolutions, 08025, 08026. I'll open the public hearing. Invite anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard for or against, pro or con, on the formation of these landscape maintenance districts. Hearing no testimony, I'll close the public hearings. Invite a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, may we vote? We'll do agenda items 9 and 10 together. Same concept, deals with drainage facility assessments. Proposed resolutions 08029 and 08030 for track number 16772 and track 17430. I'll open the public hearing, or hearings plural. Invite anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard for or against, pro or con, on the acceptance of the engineer's report and or the formation of the drainage facility assessment districts for the tracks that I just listed. Anyone who wishes to be heard for or against, pro or con. Mr. Roberts is coming up. Oh, I thought you were going to come up and complain. Okay. I just opened the public hearing. I'll close it. May we have a vote? Maybe moved and seconded? Agenda item 11, change of pace, consent calendar. These items have been predetermined to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be adopted with one motion unless there's a request for removal. Vote. Agenda item 12, which is the LAIF issue, has already been dealt with. Item 13, proposed resolution 08041 through 0844, which, if approved, would change the proposed boundaries of the area to be assessed for certain public improvements and acquisition in Assessment District number 0701, Kahunga Road. And we will deal with 13A, B, C, and D resolutions all at one time, unless there's a request from a member of the council to remove one. And I have cards. This is not a public hearing item, but I will invite the two people who submitted cards to make brief comments. Michael Chapin, or Chapin, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly.
Council members, my name is Michael Chapin. I'm the developer consultant for a few of the owner developers in the tract for the assessment district on the resolution this evening. And we just wanted to say thank you for your support for formation of this assessment district. We've been working with finance and engineering for about a year on this. And the developers that will have an opportunity to speak on the two cards after me, I'll be talking. They are developers here in Victorville that pride themselves on providing the most affordable housing home here in Victorville right now. With your support of the assessment district, it continues and allows them to continue to provide these homes, making them so affordable. The low interest financing that's being provided by the assessment district will allow these developers to continue to be able to provide quality affordable housing here in Victorville. And I'll give these gentlemen here a chance to speak this evening in favor of the assessment district formation as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chapin. Alex Lavitt.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. My name is Alex Lavitt. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I represent Tract 15084. Tract 15084 is a residential lot with 54 subdivisions in it. It is a part of the Kahunga Road Assessment District. It's on the west side of the district, and it entails of providing infrastructure for that immediate area, which includes sewer, electrical backbone from the Edison Company, and it allows the rest of the area to grow with this. Tract 15084 has representation over 53% of the assessment district. Providing this assessment district will allow the future home buyers to pay less money for the homes because the infrastructure would be covered under this assessment district, which will be a long-term payback with a very low interest rate. And it will allow us to reduce the selling price, so we make it easier for the home buyers to move in. The assessment district will be very beneficial to the immediate residents and the immediate tracts surrounding it. And the costs of the improvements of the infrastructure would be only charged back to the people who actually benefit out of it. So the people and the properties who do not benefit out of this, any portion of this district, will not be charged any monies to them. So it would only entail the people who actually benefit out of it. And I know that the city has worked very hard on this formation of this assessment district to this point, and I'd like to thank you for the staff for putting so much time and energy into it, and I'd like to thank you for your support on this as well.
Thank you.
Any questions? Please
Thank you, Mr. Lavitt. Third card, Mr. Gary Pomeroy.
Mayor Caldwell, members of the City Council. We are the developers of Tract 15083-3, 88 single-family homes. The city requires us to put a storm drain in that will benefit far more surrounding properties than ours. So the assessment district is a means of spreading that cost to the people who will use it rather than put it on the 88 future home buyers where we are, where they only receive about 1/3 of the benefit. In our previous phases, there are homes who will benefit from the storm drain. Since we did not know there was going to be an assessment district at that time, we have volunteered to pay their cost up front so they have nothing that is going to go on their tax rolls because it wouldn't be fair to them. We just would urge your support of the assessment district, and we thank the staff for working so hard on it. Thank you.
Thank you. I would indicate to all three of the speakers that it's refreshing to have people step up to the plate and do the right thing, to volunteer to do the right thing. We welcome all kinds of development activity in our city, and when people are that conscientious and that committed to helping this city grow and to make it more attractive for people, that's pretty special. So thank you for stepping up to the plate. Questions or comments from members of the council on 13A, B, C, and D, which would be acted upon with one motion?
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, the request before you tonight for the formation of the assessment district does comply with the goals and policies set forth by the council previously regarding the formation of assessment district. Although there are some unique features to this request that I think are different than previous requests having come before the city council. One would be the inclusion of a substantial amount of property not controlled by the applicants and the proponents, and some impacts on the school. And so if the council would entertain, Mr. Jim Anderson could provide some of the details of this request.
Mr. Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I believe the staff report that was included in the item, we included some background information on the properties being included, and the staff has been proactive in trying to reach some of the other property owners to try to make them aware that this has been proposed. As the proponents have said, it's a very big cost to be incurred. There are other properties to benefit, and the assessment district is a means to spread that cost burden based on the benefit each property gets. The other main property owners, in addition to some of the homeowners who the proponents are stepping up and taking care of that have moved in, are about 6 other properties. The staff's been successful in, they've sent out basically the draft engineer's report to them a couple times. Once in December, offering to schedule a meeting with them to get their input and comments on it. It was a rather short notice and was just before the holidays, so they got one response back as a result of that mailing from a husband and wife who own a property that's referenced in the agenda item. If you look on, I'm not sure if it'd be page 2 or 3 or how it's exactly presented to you, but their assessment amounts about $80,000, and the husband and wife have indicated that they would be opposed to this, that they have kind of a long-term investment plan for it, no plans to go forward with development at this time, and would be a burden for them. The school district also got back as a result of that mailing once the new year started. They actually had plans, I believe, to do something with the property in the past that they have, and they had run into the cost of the drainage being a big cost, something they couldn't bear on their own, and had to defer that project. And unfortunately, their letter came in, and it indicates, as everyone's well aware with the state budget issues, they're having to face some other critical items and issues with their budget, and so they don't have the resources. So they've indicated an opposition to forming the assessment district at this time. A third property owner, actually, the engineer called in today with some questions about it. They got the packet forwarded from their client, and their question was really directed at a particular feature of the Tawny Ridge improvement and their property is conditioned to have certain drainage improvements, and I believe Sean needs to double check the record and make sure, but he believes that the improvement that's planned will incorporate the feature that they're concerned about. They just don't want to have the road go in and then have to come in, tear it out, and incur a double cost for that improvement. If it's included in this, I think their indication was they would possibly be okay with the assessment district. There are 3 other property owners that we haven't heard back from. The last mailing we did, the staff did do a return receipt, so they know at least 2 of those property owners received the packet. We just haven't heard back from them. This is a little different maybe than what you've seen when you've done the community facilities district financings, where a property owner controls all of the property. I don't recall with the assessment district that was done in 1991 that was on some commercial property, if all of those property owners were active in the process, or that improvement was spread and people were, in favor, or some may have had a question about it now when it had gone forward. Unlike some of the maintenance districts you've just been going through, there's 2 phases really to an assessment district. There's this process that would put it on the property. There's another step that would come before you issue bonds. So there's no assurance that if everyone were here and supporting this, that with today's market, depending with property values, absorption, other issues related to doing the bond side, and also as the city manager mentioned, there are criteria with the goals and policies the council's adopted for bond financing, making sure all of those criteria are met at the time the bonds are issued. And I know the proponents are anxious to see this go forward with what's able to be done now. We'll have to look at it when we get to that point to see what's feasible to be done. But I think the other point is just the staff and the consultants are wanting to get it in front of you and make sure you're aware that it's not the case that everyone has stepped up and said this is the time for us to be doing it. They're getting some letters back with, asking not to be included, which in assessment district you're either in or out based on the benefit, but the timing for actually incurring costs on the property owner can be deferred by deferring the bond issuance. An issue with that would just be if the proponents were successful in going forward with additional new homes. If you haven't issued the bonds, you won't have an assessment on those homeowners that shows up for a while, so the tax bill will adjust at a later point in time as opposed to being there from day one when they move in. So I don't know if there are questions.
Questions or comments from members of the council? Is there a staff recommendation?
There is no action before the city council tonight. It was just one of briefing the council on the process, some of the nuances about this assessment district, and finding out if there was any feelings on the council one way or the other regarding going forward or not going forward.
Well, I think there is presented for you. There's the proceedings that would call the public hearing, as you've been doing with the maintenance, and set a 45-day period to call the hearing, which would be another notice out to the other property owners, this time with the ballots coming back. If you chose to proceed at this time and the ballots came back positive, the council still has the choice at the later time to decide not to pursue formation, or you could today, make a decision to defer it, or if you knew you weren't in favor of going forward when you're having opposition, then today would be a point to let the proponents know.
Well, the effect of the 4 resolutions before us, if they were approved, would approve the funding and acquisition agreement. It would call for the time and place for the public hearing assessment process. So it seems to me that there's 3 opportunities for the council to deal with this, one of which is to adopt the resolutions as presented, which starts this process moving forward.
Yes.
Second opportunity is to deny adoption of these resolutions, perhaps without prejudice, and see where things go. And the third one is simply to continue it and see how some of these unanswered property owners come back on the issue.
Yes.
I suspect, I don't know that we'll ever get unanimity, so I think that the ultimate public policy question for this council is project and the construction of this drainage facility important to that particular geographical area in terms of future growth and development? If it is, then at some point the problem is going to be worse if we delay than it is today, because as there's more building and development, there's going to be more people involved in the debate of whether we should or we shouldn't. So that's the dilemma for the council. Comments? Anybody want to make a motion? All right. There's a motion to move forward and adopt the 4 resolutions.
Second.
Is there? That's been moved and seconded. May we vote? Process is moving. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Agenda item 15, request to award a contract to Sol Inc. for solar lights and poles for the Hook Park Life Trail, $34,835.44. Is there a second?
Second.
We vote. I'll come back to it. May we vote? Okay, we voted on 15 for the solar lights. We'll go back to 14, which is a request to purchase office furniture and ancillary items from System Source, $219,229. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Been moved and seconded. May we vote? (16) Proposed Resolution 08040. Adopted, it would approve the application for land and water conservation for the Doris Davies Park new picnic area project. Vote. I am going to turn the gavel over to Mayor Pro Tem Allman. Had knee surgery. My knee is barking. I'm going to go get some painkillers. So it's yours, and I'll catch up with you at the closed session. Okay?
Now the rule at camp, when you bring cookies, you're supposed to bring some for everyone.
Tylenol with codeine and make the rest of your hair fall out.
Are we 16? 17? Okay, we'll move on to item 17, presentation of a request to adopt resolution number 8045, which is destroying certain records for the city clerk's office and the water district.
Move for approval.
We have a first and a second. Item number 18, presentation request to adopt resolution number 08039. A resolution, the city of Victorville hereby authorizing the Director of Development to apply for a waste hire enforcement grant.
Second.
Okay, item 19, presentation request to design, permitting, and construction of metering station and high-pressure gas pipeline. Excuse me. With the Kern River Gas Transmission System at SCLA.
Second.
Item 20, to award a contract to Lim and, okay, I'm not going to say that word, Engineering Corporation for the completion of the design of the roadway and bridge improvements at Bear Valley Road over BNSF in the amount of $84,585.
The next item is on the agenda to talk about, we've got a strategic vote coming up in Sandbag tomorrow morning, so I'd ask our city engineer to give us a presentation on the La Mesa Nisqually interchange.
Thank you, members of the council, Mayor Pro Tem. I've got just a very brief overview of the funding for the La Mesa Nisqually interchange. If we can go to the next slide, please. Technology. There we go. This scenario would indicate the total cost for the La Mesa Nisqually interchange construction phase at about $60 million. Of that, it is proposed that the city with its local funds would provide 50%, up to 50% of the construction cost. That would be a commitment of approximately $30 million. There is also a potential for acquiring STIP funds through Sandbag in the amount of $15,560,000, and that would represent 26% of the $60 million price tag. The city has also planned to put in from the 25% Measure I pot. This would be the new Measure I, an amount of $14,440,000. If I could have the next slide, please. As a refresher, the new Measure I that was adopted by the voters almost a couple of years ago does have a set aside of 25%. That is intended to be used for regional size projects that would benefit the Victor Valley sub-area. Originally, the projection for the revenues for that 25% pot at the time of the approval of the new Measure I was about $213 million. The revised estimate, based upon more recent history and more recent records, is a projection of about $300 million that would be set aside in that pot for the regional projects. Next slide, please. Of the amount of tax revenue generated from Measure I, today the city of Victorville, for the Victor Valley sub-area, we generate about 45% of that revenue, and in the future Measure I we would expect something of the same order of magnitude. We have already requested the use of that future 25% pot from Sandbag to be used as a potential funding assistance towards the La Mesa Nisqually interchange. Next slide, please. When the Measure I ordinance was adopted, the La Mesa Nisqually interchange was actually listed as a project in the ordinance, and it was identified that the 25% pot would be used for that project. What we're really seeking tonight as a recommendation is for the City Council to commit to funding up to 50% of the construction costs of the La Mesa Nisqually interchange from local funds. And if we could go back to the first slide again, we're simply saying that that $30 million, representing 50%, would be the city's local fund contribution towards the La Mesa Nisqually interchange. Thank you.
Let me add a little bit of background to this. It's always good to do that when you've been 20 years down the road and you need to kind of refresh people's memory and kind of take things for granted that are out there. 20 years ago today, almost, the county of San Bernardino did try to put a Measure I through, which is basically you've agreed to tax yourself over and above with the state tax. You for transportation issues, totally locked into that issue, cannot go anywhere else. So we said, okay, if we're going to do that, County of San Bernardino has had a history, no fault of the current members, but they had a history of basically doing what they wanted and abusing the high desert, taking us for granted. Even though we're 80% of the county's landmass, we were far less than 20% of the population base for many years. So they pretty much rammed it down our throats. So about 20 years ago, we kind of arrived at a point where we could be a nuisance if we wanted to and organize ourselves. Countywide issues required a 2/3 vote. So we said, look, if you don't guarantee us our revenue for the high desert, we're going to defeat Measure I. And in fact, this city, with the help of Mr. Caldwell, myself, the rest of this council, former Jim Cox that was here, and others, we did defeat that measure. Came back, that was shocked the county, got everybody's attention, sandbags the counties, came back, said, please support it. What do you need? We need a financial gate at the Cajon Pass. Everything raised up here stays up here. And then we'll deal with our priorities, and you deal with your priorities. So when we nailed that agreement down, that revenue, that bond passed. That was almost 20 years ago. Came up to this recent time here, and we've just recently renewed the 20-year, and actually we've made a 30-year pack on this one. And we would have been good to go. This is an important point because I'm going to get beat up on by some folks down the hill on this issue, and I want you to understand this. We were good to go for the same language as Measure I number 1 for the next 30 years because we were getting 95% of the revenue that we were generating, the city of Victorville was generating. And through negotiations and the county asking and Sandberg asking, we agreed to establish a 25% pot. That didn't exist. That doesn't exist until 2010 when it kicks in. You can bond against that revenue source, and it's basically based on population and sales tax. And so we said, okay, look, the Victor Valley is growing. There are some regional issues. The city of Victorville will never get back what it puts into this 25% pot. Never. Because of the estimate at the time we did the bond was $213 million, as Sean said. It actually, in 3 years, it has increased its estimate to $300 million. I suspect when we get done with our jobs out at SCLA and everything else over the next 30 years, that $300 million is going to be $500 million. And that's all ours. The state of California can't touch Measure I. That belongs to this county. And in fact, the two portions of the county are separate Measure I's. They stand alone, and we have total control up here with your cities in the county up here, and the folks down the hill have control of theirs. So we're looking at about $300 million now in this. And we've said Nisqually is coming up. We've been waiting in line 10 years. We're ready to turn dirt next June, about 6 months from now, and the funding mechanism is in place. The city of Victorville has agreed to its $30 million, 50%. Sandbag, you must come up with the other 50%. And so we've said, if you have problems, here's another funding mechanism, the 25% tool that the voters in this county have given you. To fund projects the size of a Rancheros, Nisqually, the Falchon, you name it, those major multi-million dollars, almost closing in on $100 million on some of these. Here's a tool for you to do that. But the board up here controls those issues. And so that's what we're at right now. We want to turn dirt next June, and about 18 months to 2 years at the outside for the construction of the Nisqually interchange. And we've simply asked the board, the representatives up here, not the down the hill folks, the folks up here, to certify that we will be entitled to up to 50% of Nisqually out of this regional pot. Now, look at flip the slide to the, which one, the 300 million, the next slide. Move up one. That number right there, remember I said it was 3 years ago, estimated at $213 million. That is locked into the Victor Valley. Everybody in the 4 cities of Victorville, Atlanta, Apple Valley, and Hesperia, and the county that is in the Victor Valley are entitled to that $300 million. No one else. So the 5 of us decide how we're going to spend that money. The city of Victorville gives 45% into that pot. We give $140 million into it, and that will grow as the airport and the jobs. Remember how you get that money. It's population and sales tax. So as we grow over the next 30 years, I'm sure we're going to more than double, if not more. Now, they put in a 2 or 3% growth, but my guess is that the city of Victorville and the Victor Valley is going to be on the high end of that growth once we get through our housing issues here. And they're coming to an end. It's painful, but they're there. We're going to be on a roll here that's probably going to double the size of that pot there, and that pot is locked into the Victor Valley. And so when I go down tomorrow morning with Sean and Brian, I'm going to be asking for the support of the local cities up here and Brad Metzenfeld, our county supervisor, to support funding Nisqually out of this 25 pot up to the 50% level if necessary. Right now there's $15 million from the state already in the pot. If it goes away, then we're talking about $30 million instead of $15 million. But still, remember, you got a $300 million pot. Victorville is contributing $140 million to that. I'm asking for $15 million, maybe $30 if Sandbag gets rather nasty. And Sandbag is getting as difficult to deal with as Caltrans. It's a shame because Sandbag works for us. When I say us, I mean the cities and the supervisors in this county. They work for us. Caltrans doesn't work for us. Sandbag does. So if the members on our board down there can't tell Sandbag what to do and how we will spend our money, then we've got a problem with Sandbag. And that's a battle that we've been battling for some time. It's unfortunate, but bureaucracies being what they are, they're a creature of habit. They like to take control of everything. And this is Measure I money that you voted for, and we want to spend it now. And I want to put a large side. I want to bond some serious money here and put some big money out there so that all the local jurisdictions in the Victor Valley, all 4 cities in the county, can put some good money up, maybe $150 million of that right up the get-go. But that's for another argument for another day. Tomorrow, all I'm doing is saying, agree. Victorville's contributed the major part of this money. We want $30 million back in the story. The board votes, and Sandbag is obligated to pursue that course of action because we're the boss. They forget that sometimes, but we're their boss. So that's where we are. That's why I needed this presentation. Nisqually is probably the single most important regional project in the Victor Valley. Anybody that drives down Bear Valley Road, Nisqually is helping you. It will relieve incredible relief at the mall and those areas there and up and down. So Hesperia County, Apple Valley, who wants to come over the river and hook into Nisqually someday, even Atlanta coming over to the mall area. I mean, everybody in the Victor Valley benefits from Nisqually. It's really a truly regional project. We've been waiting 10 years in line. There's no excuse for us not to turn down in this bridge next year, about 6 months in. If we have problems, I'm going to come back and share my problems with the rest of you and let you know. And I will name names. Okay. And by the way, I wasn't blaming Brad Metzko. By the way, he's been very supportive of it. I just mentioned him. He's our supervisor on the committee. That's all. I didn't want to imply in any way that I had a problem with Brad. I just said that as the members of the group. So there we are now. So stay tuned for another chapter. But here's where we've been waiting a long time for Nisqually, and I'm excited. I think we'll get started on this thing next year. What is it, Sean? About 18 months or 2 years? What do you think?
For the construction?
Yeah.
It'll be at least 18 months, I would say, probably closer to 2 years, yes.
Closer to 2 years, okay. So that'll be in 2010, middle of 2010. That hopefully we'll be using that freeway interchange, and you'll feel the relief in Victorville immediately. It'll be an incredible moment to open that bridge up. Thank you. So the motion before the council is to approve the language of the 50% match on this.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council, there is on your dais a letter that we received today from Sandbag, and going to address their requests. Their first request, number 1, is that the city would fund the entire project. Note for the record, laugh from audience.
And council members.
I cannot imagine why they would place this request to the city of Victorville. As Councilman Rothschild pointed out, the citizens of San Bernardino voted twice to tax themselves to pay for transportation improvements. By my estimation, conservatively, the residents here just in the Victor Valley will contribute $1.2 billion of their tax dollars. From within the city of Victorville, I estimate that will generate $500 million. We're asking for $15 million. I cannot imagine why they would suggest we put that money in. They give no explanation as to why they are suggesting that. Item number 2 is asking the City Council to execute a project advancement agreement. What that is their funds don't start coming in until probably sometime around 2010, and so they're asking us to execute an agreement with them where we would upfront the money and then they would pay us back. And they have sent us their cooperative agreement whereby they would pay us back. And this is the worst document, I think, in my professional career I've ever read. It says that, in the event their funds are not available, then we would pay the entire amount. I mean, these are not their funds. These are the funds that the voters of Victorville and the Victor Valley taxed themselves to pay. They say that they will reimburse us. It says they have no responsibility to reimburse us until a date that is determined in the strategic plan. The strategic plan does not exist. They're asking us to agree to be paid back only when they say they will in this plan that doesn't exist. They also say that they will pay us back on a schedule that is in this plan that does not exist. It's just true. So they want us to execute this agreement that has no requirement that they pay us back at all and doesn't specify if they did decide to pay us back when they would do it. So with respect to their request item number 2, I would recommend the council not agree to that. Thirdly, they're asking us to specify exactly where our funds will come from. The request that is going before the board tomorrow, which would go to the California Transportation Commission for state transportation improvement funds. We have spoken with the professionals up at CTC. There is no requirement that we provide this information. We do not know why Sandbag is requesting this information from us. They refer into here that we should seek contributions from the county and the town of Apple Valley. I don't see why we should do that. Our voters agreed to vote these tax dollars to pay for these construction funds. So recommend support of your motion and that we get on with building the transportation infrastructure that we promised the voters we would build. And as Mr. McGlade pointed out, the actual bill that went to the voters that they approved included our La Mesa Nisqually project. So we told the voters we were going to build it. We're taxing the voters to build it. I don't understand why Sandbag now doesn't want to do that.
It's the motion to approve the 50%. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. Where's Mr. Caldwell hiding?
Taking notes.
I'm going to just purely guess, but my guess is that Mr. Caldwell's is right in line with the rest of these. That's not even a doubt in my mind. I've known him for over 30 years. I know exactly.
Okay, with that, we will move on to item number 22. Presentation, request to adopt resolution 08046, authorizing the mayor to execute program supplemental agreement to administrating agency state agreement with Caltrans for the La Mesa Nisqually Interchange project.
Move for approval.
First and second. Yeah, item number 23, presentation request for denial of claims against the city, number 08018, Jessica LaFrenz, and 08001B, Katie Cameron, and 0801C, Robert Wilson.
Move for approval. Refer to staff. Yeah, deny and move. I'm sorry, denial and move to staff.
Item number 24 is presentation from the council members.
I made my presentation. Stay tuned.
Okay, we will now go into closed session.
Madam Chair, there is 2 addenda items, one of which is a closed session. The other, however, is a open session item, and it is to consider a resolution regarding the request for a bond reduction by Mojave Desert Land Corporation. You have the proposed resolution on the dais before you. Essentially, Mojave Desert Land Corporation has asked property that they are in escrow for. The resolution would title to the property and providing the necessary security.
Next step.
Staff would recommend approval of the attached resolution.
Comment?
First.
Second. We have the count on the vote, don't we?
Pardon me? Yes, we
Count
gotta-
on the vote?
yeah, on the count.
On number 4?
The total number of ballots received for the street lighting assessment district formation was 213, and of those, 173 were yes votes and 38 were no votes. So the assessment passes.
I move the item.
Second.
One moment, let me get back to the item.
Okay. Any That's it.
The only other items are the closed session items that are fully identified on the agenda, including the addendum item, which I previously referenced. It's the property at the northwest corner of Seneca Road and Mesa Linda Avenue, 40 gross acres. If there is any action taken on these items after the closed sessions, we will come out and inform the public of those actions that are taken, but we don't anticipate that to be the case.
Thank you. Okay, we will now close this and go into closed session. Thank you for coming, and if you'd like to hang around and wait, you're welcome to. If not, have a good night.
Okay, we're coming back out of closed session. We have some reportable action. I'll ask the city attorney to recite the 3 items that are reportable.
We still need a quorum, at least one member of your council.
Move this to the bathroom.
I want to go home.
Pardon? We now have a quorum, Mr. D. Bordenowski.
We have a couple of items to announce that the council took action on. First is with respect to the acquisition of property owned by the Jurgensen Family Trust, which is parcel number 0460-242-320000. City Council authorized acquiring that piece of property. That's a 5-acre parcel for a offer price of $62,500. Second reportable action is that the City Council authorized the filing of the lawsuit with Hesperia, both on redevelopment agency issues and on CEQA issues with respect to the Valley High Toyota transaction, and to participate in case number CIVVS 703602 and CIVVS 703596, along with the redevelopment agency. the suit has been filed, actually in the name of the city. You're authorizing that lawsuit, ratifying the filing of that suit, both actions. The last item is that you are agreeing to a compensation arrangement with the redevelopment agency with respect to receiving an offer of compensation from the RDA for Forest Park.
That's it. Meeting's adjourned.